Perfect. Thank you, Joel. Yeah, I want to begin just by letting everyone know we're recording just the first part of this practice this morning. So just kind of introduction and then the first meditation practice. After that, for the sake of confidentiality, we're going to go ahead and stop the recording before we have any like sharing, any personal sharing, anything like that. And I'm going to attempt to share my screen here to go over a few more things. Bear with me one moment. All right, so that's not going to work. That's okay. What I would like to just bring a little bit of attention to is our intentions for this morning. So perhaps as you've seen in the description of this practice session, the primary intentions is really just connection and connections as a means to supporting our work, whether present work or future work to come. So when I say connection, I'm meaning connection with ourselves, right? All parts of ourselves, connections with each other, particularly each of us in this room here sharing this space. And then connection with the greater body that holds us, the earth, our communities, our families, our ancestors, and so on. And again, using this connection as a means to support whatever work we're engaged in. Given that you're here, I take that to mean there's something you deeply care about, right? And this connection and being real mindful about that connection can support that work. Later, Jewel will be leading and engaging in a panelery on transforming crisis. And so part of the intention is that the practice this morning kind of lays a nice foundation, perhaps a safe foundation in which that panelery can go into perhaps some challenging terrain as we talk about the bigger issues facing us as a collective right now. Cool. Before I begin, I also want to just open it up to any general questions that anyone has at this point. Feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to, or you can also message me privately in the chat if that's what feels best for you. Great, cool. One other thing before we get going here is the intention also is for this to be pretty interactive. I'm just a person. I'm not really an expert in anything. Apart from like knowing my imperfections, I would say, and then having some parts of myself that I do enjoy. So I don't want this to come off as like somewhat like power structure, right? Where I'm like, here's the expert to lead the meditation. Like we're here together, man. We're all in this thing to figure it out as a collective. So with that being the intention, please do feel welcome to share anything at all. And to respond to anything that anyone shares. Of course, there's some intentions in doing that are nobler than others, such as connecting and listening rather than critiquing and judging. But trust yourself, trust your heart. You're here for a reason. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and begin with the first practice. To give a little bit of a background, I come from quite a few years now of Buddhist meditation, particularly in Theravada, so just like basic mindfulness. And part of the work I do academically and as a clinician is using mindfulness practices as a means of just supporting general well-being and better health. So with that background, with that intention, there's going to be practices I'll be guiding you through today. Most are clinically supported, and some are not, and that's okay. But it's going to basically be sitting meditation, talking about it, and it's very fluid and open-ended. So let's go ahead and start with the grounding practice. You can keep your videos on or off while we sit, whatever feels best for you. I'll keep mine on myself, and we'll do the same. All right. So I encourage you to find a position that feels comfortable and upright for you. It can be laying down, it can be sitting down, it can be standing up, whatever feels best. And you're welcome to close your eyes if you'd like to, or you can keep your eyes open. And if you do keep your eyes open, go ahead and let them just rest softly somewhere in front of you. And we're going to begin with just some deep breaths here. Breathing in perhaps for about 4 seconds. And then breathing out for about 4 seconds. And doing that a few more times. And as you do this, just settle into your body. Just being this body that's breathing. Each of us are living human lives, and with human lives comes a lot. So in this moment, see if we can just be right here. Yes, we have all our past experiences. Yes, we have all our future ambitions and goals and dreams. But right now, there's just this breath. Being curious if we can be right with that breath just as it is. And go ahead and let the breath return to a normal rate, not needing it to be one way or another. Just letting the body breathe itself. And see if you can keep that attention just right with the breath, whether that's the rising and falling of the chest, the sensations of the breath coming in and out of the nostrils. Wherever you best connect with the breath, just be right there. And now I invite you to open attention rather than on the breath to all the sounds that are around you right now. Whether you're inside or outside, whether there's a lot of sounds or little, just notice exactly the stimulus of hearing, just as it is. Being curious about the textures of the sounds that you might hear. Whether some sounds sound closer or farther away. There's no right or wrong way to do this, just noticing exactly what you're hearing just as it is. And perhaps as you're doing this, you might notice thoughts arising in the mind. You might notice attention wandering from the sounds around you to those thoughts. Or maybe you're noticing the attention wandering to body sensations. Know that that's completely okay. That's what it's like to be a human. And our practice is just to return right back to the anchor of our attention, in this case, the sounds that are around us. So if there's a thought or if the mind's wandering, Just noticing that there's that thought there, smiling at it, noticing the distractions that might arise, like sounds, and just go right back to that anchor. And now we're going to shift the attention to the body. So let's begin by checking in with the points of contact between our body and whatever is supporting us, whether that's the earth, a chair, a stool. Just bring some attention and some curiosity right to the points of which your body's being supported. For example, if you're sitting in a chair, maybe that's the pressure on the lower body and the chair. Just somatically feeling exactly what's there. Maybe it's a feeling of pressure, tingling. The labels are not as important. It's mostly just bringing the attention to the raw stimulus, the raw feeling. Seeing if you can open and ground to that feeling. And then now just playfully and curiously checking out the rest of the body at your own rate, in your own way. Seeing if there's anything else in the body that's standing out to you right now. Maybe it's a pain somewhere or a tightness. Maybe there's somewhere that feels very good and relaxed. Again, just noticing that just as it is. Seeing if for this moment you can just open and allow it. Not needing to change it. Not needing to judge it as right or wrong. Just letting it be there. Again, if the mind wanders, just know that's okay. That's what a mind does. Perhaps you can smile at it and just return right back to that anchor of attention. In this case, somewhere in the body. Now let's take a moment to check in with the emotional body. So allow the attention to move from that point in the body or the body as a whole, and instead have it become aware of whatever emotions are present for you right now. There might be a lot of emotions that are present. There might be hardly any or none at all. Again, non-judgmentally, just noticing what is present for you emotionally right now. And see if you can let that just be there. Allowing it just as it is. Perhaps saying to yourself, feeling this way is like this. It's just like this. And now letting the emotional body just settle wherever it is. Finally, we're going to bring some attention to the thoughts that are present. Noticing that in this moment, if there are any thoughts, just what are they? We don't need to pursue them, challenge them, change them, dive too deep in them. Just notice if there is thinking, what is it like right now? Maybe you'll notice that the thoughts arise, they exist for a time, and then they just slowly pass away, going back to wherever they came from. Maybe you'll notice that the thoughts are rapid. They seem to follow each other quickly. Or maybe not. Maybe you'll notice that there's a space between thoughts. Again, just non-judgmentally allowing whatever is present to be there. And then finally, now just seeing if you can let the attention hold all of your experience. Each piece, the thoughts, the emotions, the body, the sounds that are around you, the breath. Seeing if you can allow the mind or attention just to relax a little bit. Let it go where it wants to go. There's no where we're headed. If it's going to wander, let it wander. Just being just as you are right now. And now I invite you to maybe bring some movement to the body, maybe wiggling the fingers and toes, maybe moving the arms, the legs, whatever feels good to you. Just coming back to the room you're in, coming back to the body, and feeling welcome to open your eyes if they're closed. Okay. So before going any further, I want to go over just a few more things real quick. So there's 4 real intentional agreements for the rest of the time we have together to share that I hope we can all agree to. One of those is just to bring your whole self to this experience, right? So the reason we started with that quite long practice is to really check in with where we're at in our body, in our mind, in our breath, right? In the room we're in. So for the rest of the time we have, just really allow your whole self, all parts of yourself, maybe the parts that are easy to love and maybe the parts that are a little more challenging for you. They're okay in this room. In that same vein, see if you can meet your whole self with some kindness, with some care. Likewise, see if you can meet others with some kindness and care. Meeting yourself and others exactly where you are on your path. The third point is just to allow for some silence. I really personally appreciate being able to sit in company with other people in silence. I think we have a culture, a US American culture, that has, for whatever reason, displayed silence as this awkward thing, right? The awkward silence. I think that's optional. And it's actually quite beautiful when we can sit with each other silently, knowing that we're safe, knowing that we don't need to fill the silence with mindless talk. It allows us a moment to just check in mindfully with ourselves, to rest in the connection we have with other people, and to just hold some space in a loving way. And finally, my most favorite point is just keep it light. We're just people. I'm just a person. I got my own stuff I'm working through. I'm sure you got yours. We most definitely have some stuff we're working through as a collective. So it's important to not take ourselves too seriously, right? There are some things that need to be taken seriously, but not super seriously. Imperfection's okay. Growing is okay. That's how things get better. So just by a show of hands, particularly for those who have videos on, is that something we can all agree with? Cool. Wonderful. Okay, I've talked enough. I kind of want to just take a moment and check in with anyone else who has anything they'd like to share in this moment.